I shall design this computer for you, and I shall name it also unto you, and it shall be called
Guggeth's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh, what a dull name.
Well, hello everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful and glorious 2023. I know that I did. This year was another beautiful year for the movie industry, on camera and off camera. On camera, we had new movies that broke records previously set, the ever so famous Barbenheimer, and just a huge load of new content for people of all ages to enjoy. And then off camera, we had the Actors and Writers Guild strike. All of these wonderful movies that got released in the past 12 months would not be possible without the people writing it and the people that are bringing it to life with their performances. I extend gratitude to all SAG and WGM members that you guys stood up for yourselves and got the correct deal that you deserve. This video would not be possible without you and all the hard work that you have done for us. This year, I was lucky enough to see 36 brand new films placed in theaters or on its own respective streaming service. The following list is nothing more than my own opinion, and in no way am I attempting to shame the hard work and talent that went into producing every single second put to screen this year. The upcoming 36 movies will be ranked on the following criteria. Number 1, acting. Were the actors able to interpret and see the director's vision while bringing their character from script to screen? 2. Cinematography. Did the camera operators and directors get creative on where the camera was placed and what was shown? 3. Writing. Was the story told a fantastic one to watch and remember after leaving the theater, or was I bored throughout? And finally, last but certainly not least, 4. Enjoyability/rewatchability. A movie cannot be ranked high if I didn't enjoy watching it to begin with. Wow, God, 36 movies? How the hell am I gonna do this alone? Whoa! Who are you? What are you doing in my living room?
Hey gamers, Damon here. I totally have something to do with my time and doing a collaboration with Guggeth Entertainment. So yeah, I'm just gonna add my thoughts on the movies that I've seen this year. Alright, I'll just let you do your thing.
Oh. Okay then. Without further ado, here's every single movie we saw in 2023 ranked from worst to best. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey is the first in a long line of terrible attempts at horror releasing this year. To be fair, it was an independent slasher film, not really attempting to be good. It was just meant to be a twisted take on the original story of Christopher Robin, now that it went into public domain. The story is incredibly bland, and all the characters are one-dimensional. Most of them only exist to become pig fodder later in the movie. There's not really much to say about it. Honestly, it's just an empty movie. It's not even a bad horror movie that's fun to watch. The sole reason this entire movie exists is to ruin your childhood and interpretation of the lovable character of Winnie the Pooh. It's also a cheap attempt to make the name of such a famous character and try to hook viewers into going to seeing it. And I'll be the first to admit, I was one of those dummies who fell for it and went to see this movie in theaters, which is why it even qualifies for this list to begin with. But I will commend the efforts for the cast and crew who made a movie on such a micro budget. This movie only had a budget of $100,000 going into it, and it made just shy of $5 million at the box office in its 3-night stay in select theaters. Which is probably why there's a Blood and Honey 2 coming out next year. Despite the entire movie being boring to watch, that is impressive.
Do you guys just put the word quantum in front of everything?
Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was the first of many MCU projects released this year, and somehow it was not the worst. Thanks, Secret Invasion. Quantumania is to kick off Phase 5 of the MCU, the phase that was fully supposed to launch us into the multiverse, as Phase 4 just got done laying the breadcrumbs for it. But instead of doing that, it wastes the introduction of the saga's big bad, Kang. Yeah, I know, Kang was technically introduced in Loki Season 1 as He Who Remains, but I mean full, legit Kang in all his glory, suited up for the first time, powerful, Time Lord Kang. They handed the keys to the introduction of this pivotal character to the entire saga to Ant-Man. Kang feels like a joke throughout the entire movie. He is barely threatening and barely scary, and for the tiny sliver of moments that he is, it just feels dull. Only carried by Jonathan Majors' acting is he sometimes very briefly threatening, but then he turns into a joke once more. And honestly, how can you expect him not to be a joke when his co-villain of the entire movie is MODOK, another terrible decision made by the movie? You cannot expect me to take the huge villain of this new saga seriously when he's standing on screen for the first time with MODOK. MODOK and his entire character are also used as a joke, except they couldn't fully commit to the joke. They attempt to shoehorn a MODOK redemption arc in right at the end of the movie after a motivational speech from Cassie, who is also annoying throughout the entire movie. And it's not just MODOK or Cassie, every single character is either annoying or it's obvious they did not want to be there. Which, is to be expected from an Ant-Man movie, but my god, not this much.
I'm gonna add my own little 2 cents on this. I fucking hate this movie. I have a soft spot for the Ant-Man movies, but oh my god, this one is just so bad. The best part about it is how when I watched it, I rented out an entire theater for my birthday with all my friends. And we all hated it, but we all laughed every single time MODOK was on screen. The biggest problem with this movie, in my opinion, is just how it fundamentally misses what makes a good Ant-Man movie. It's just so bad and frustrating. And it looks like ass.
Sitting with you, but her eyes are on the door.
No Hard Feelings is a movie that follows a woman about to lose her childhood home with all the remaining memories in it, so desperate to save it all. So when the opportunity comes from 2 rich assholes trying to get their son out of his shell before he leaves for college, she takes it. The movie now follows this kid attempting to get out of his shell when he's 19 years old, and with the R rating of the movie, it did not need to hold back. It was enjoyable at times, extremely mind-numbing at others, but you can tell the chemistry between Jennifer Lawrence and Andrew Feldman was easily the best part of the movie because it was so strong. You could tell that these 2 actors truly cared for each other and put that directly into the performances. It's oddly sweet and sincere at times, but those rare and sweet moments are dulled down by unfunny and forced sexual tensions. It's just a weird movie. I didn't necessarily hate watching it, but I was eagerly waiting for the credits to roll so I can go on to a different Netflix movie. The entire message of the movie is just creepy when you realize it's trying so hard to justify a very toxic situation of a 32-year-old trying to hook up with a 19-year-old to get a car. Yeah.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Looks like you didn't watch this one. I like Indiana Jones. I watched them all this year for the first time, and they're pretty fun. I don't like the new one. It's just so fucking boring. The best part about Indiana Jones is how fun and action-packed and funny it can be. And this movie is just fucking nothing, and it is a complete waste of $35 million. They do barely anything with Indiana Jones in this movie, other than acknowledge the fact that he's old and have his niece make fun of him. Wow! What a likable character! The villains are painfully mediocre. The action is really fucking lame. The best part of the movie was when Puss in Boots was in it for a few minutes, and then he died. That's how I knew the movie was dog shit. Jesus Christ, if I could describe this movie in one word, it would be a nothing burger.
My name is Barry Allen, and I am the fastest man alive.
Oh my god, the Flash. More like the Flash. When I first saw this movie, I was thinking, oh, this ain't that bad. No, it's aged horribly. The plot is so overbloated and bad, and the lead is painfully annoying. It's like he committed war crimes or something. Oh wait. And the somewhat strong emotional core is fucking butchered by the constant nostalgia baiting and the resurrection of dead actors and terrible fucking ending. Jesus Christ, that ending was so bad. Like, okay, Michael Keaton was like the best part of the movie, but this movie probably has the worst CGI I've ever seen in a major motion picture.
Okay, let's run.
Renfield is another attempt at a low-budget horror movie by grabbing onto a pre-existing character, but to tell a new story. But where Renfield succeeded where Blood and Honey failed is through that this pre-existing character already exists as a horror icon, and they got Nicolas Cage to star in the role. Renfield falls under the category of super dumb horror, but it's so much fun to watch. While the movie was terrible, I had a blast watching it with a couple friends of mine. The movie is extremely aware that it's dumb and fully plays into it, using its budget and self-awareness very wisely. The practical effects they use each time they rip off a limb is incredible, but bogged down by the messy-looking CGI blood. The action sequences are also fantastic work from stunt coordinator Chris Brewster. The entire plot of the movie is that Renfield is tired of terrible working conditions under Count Dracula after centuries of service is a hilariously dumb premise that does not go to waste. Renfield explores his own self-aware stupidity wonderfully, and it makes an enjoyable and laughable watch every single time.
The animatronic characters here do get a bit quirky at night.
Huh. If I had a nickel for every Blumhouse movie that released in 2023 about killer robots, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice, right? To me, Megan seemed like it was a better take on the premise that the Child's Play remake attempted to try on in 2019. Robot AI wanting to just help the user it's assigned to, and not having that human-like conscience to realize that killing is wrong. Its only goal being focused on what's best for its host, and not caring what she has to hurt to make it happen. This movie is freaky to watch. The uncanniness of Megan and everything around her turned up to the max. She's fully supposed to resemble a real girl, but still robotic enough, and the intention was to go directly into the uncanny valley, and it worked perfectly. Every single time Megan was on screen, I was uncomfortable, even when she wasn't killing people. While her mindless murder sessions were obviously the highlight of the movie, the rest of the plot just wasn't enough to keep it afloat. I did not care for the human characters in the slightest. Both of the leads were annoying at times, and sometimes the grown adult was more irritating than the child who lost both of her parents. It was messy and a lot to sit through at times, but one thing you can count on Blumhouse is to always deliver some great kills while staying inside the PG-13 rating. And boy does Megan push those ratings, so much so that they released an unrated version on Peacock, which is the version that I watched. My attention span would fade and then slowly be hooked back in, only to be lost again when Megan stopped killing. And unfortunately, Megan is not on a killing spree for the majority of this movie. But hey, there's always Megan 2 coming out in January 2025.
The bear, it fucking did cocaine. Bear did cocaine.
Cocaine Bear is a movie that came out. I almost completely forgot about it, but it was pretty funny from when I watched it. I watched it with a bunch of my friends in the theater, and it was pretty funny. Like, it didn't take itself seriously at all, but it had pretty solid kills, and, well, it was well made enough. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I just don't have much to say about Cocaine Bear. The trend kind of died off, so I got nothing really to say.
Tetris was one of many biopic films that came out this year, telling the story of how Tetris became a household name. The movie's events are so outlandish that you think that it wasn't a biopic at all, but you'd be wrong. The events of the movie are exactly what happened. Taron Egerton absolutely kills it in the role, along with his co-star, Nikita Efremov. The movie feels stretched out at times and has some oddly timed moments that are supposed to be dramatic, but aren't. The movie does a terrific job at making you afraid of the Soviet Union in its last few years before crumbling. Did I necessarily need a dramatic car chase scene in a movie about how Tetris came to the United States? No, not really, but I was still entertained nonetheless.
You didn't betray me. You betrayed yourself.
No, Optimus!
Transformers: Rise of the Beast is another movie that falls under the so bad it's super enjoyable to watch category. I loved sitting through this movie only because I saw it on a big IMAX screen. I think if I watched this movie anywhere other than a huge IMAX screen, it would not have been enjoyable as it was. The entire movie I was laughing at the dumb human moments and the dumb human issues, but then I was genuinely hooked when Big Robot started fighting other Big Robot. Because that's what you buy a ticket for. You're not here to see the drama and how this affects the humans' lives. No, you're here to see Optimus Prime punch another robot in the face. It's my issue with a lot of these movies that have big CGI characters in the title. They are always weighed down by the human characters that are required for the plot to actually work. I was not invested in the main character's struggles at all throughout the entire movie, and it just made it more annoying when he was paired with Pete Davidson's car. But I don't know, there's just something so satisfying about seeing huge characters of impossible circumstances beat the absolute living hell out of each other. I think that's why I will always go and see a Transformer movie in theaters, but never again after that. But until the day that these movies actually make me care about a character that isn't a big robot, these movies cannot be considered good. With the entire movie teasing this huge fight in the third act, it was difficult to not just want to skip forward to that moment. And I wish I did. The entire third act is easily the best part of this entire movie. Fully leaning into big robot fighting other big evil robot, I was hooked entirely. This movie had me hypnotized and glued to my seat. Especially when they finally reintroduced Bumblebee back into the movie with that amazing entry scene of him flying through the air, guns blazing. Almost makes up for the fact that they benched him for the entire movie. Notice I said almost, because I still do not forgive them for doing that.
Alright, time to meet ride Shazam. Fun fact about me, I fucking love the first Shazam movie. It is one of my personal favorite movies ever, because I just vibe with the humorous tone. So lighthearted, but at the exact same time has a really emotional and compelling story. And I really fucked with some of the horror elements. I love it a lot. It also introduced me to my favorite song ever. And Zachary Levi is fucking hilarious in the role. I think he's great, and I really didn't get the hate on him until Shazam 2 came out. This movie, I do think this movie is really overhated for no reason at all. So I'm gonna be defending it, but at the same time, I can kind of get why. Like, Billy just doesn't have that much screen time in this movie, and when he does, he's like really serious for no reason, and this is in stark contrast to Zachary Levi, who's just acting like an idiot. And I do kind of blame some of this on like movies like Thor: Love and Thunder, but people just probably don't fuck with it anymore. I watched it right after rewatching the first one. I didn't think it was that bad, but the more I sit on it, the more it doesn't really work for me. And I don't know, just the fact that the movie had to make original villains, like, they're not bad or anything, like, it's just, it could have been better. I see why nobody came to watch this one, like, I completely understand. And I completely get why some people think it's boring, although the final act is pretty fucking rad in my opinion. And I still vibe with the humor, I still like the direction, and I still like the family. Freddy especially is still probably my favorite character. Like, I just don't get the hate of this movie, like, at all. But at the exact same time, man, it is not the sequel that I was hoping for. But I still like it, and I will defend it with all my heart.
You've got to come back with me!
Where?
Back to the future!
Told the Killer was an extremely fun surprise. I watched this movie solely for Kiernan Shipka and Olivia Holt. With it being produced and made by Blumhouse, there were just more and more reasons for me to be excited for this movie's release. I didn't really expect much from the movie about time-traveling slasher, but I was pleasantly surprised. Despite the cringy dialogue that comes with every movie featuring teenagers, Told the Killer was a fun time. The cast was absolutely stellar in their roles, all portraying 80s teenagers exactly how you expect 80s teenagers to act. Like any slasher characters, they are all naturally stupid. But it was nice to have the main character have that omniscient point of view, attempting to talk some sense into the stupid teens out of doing their stupid things, only for her to be labeled as a buzzkill. The parallels to Scream of the Mystery Killer was also another exciting element, having me second-guessing every single character whenever they had an alibi. Although I was a little confused when they took off the mask of the killer for the first time, they explained it for dummies, like me, who weren't paying attention earlier in the movie. The motivations for said killer are reasonable and not completely stupid as to why he just starts murdering people for fun. And those moments where he is murdering people for fun, absolutely disgusting in the best way possible. The kills in Totally Killer are brutal and look amazing, with Blumhouse fully utilizing its R rating to the fullest degree. But that's really all you can say. It's a fun time, and if you love cheesy slasher movies, I highly recommend.
Oh, Tommy boy! So good to see you again. Did you hit me with the helicopter back there?
Yes! Fast X, sweet baby! Holy fuck, I love Fast X. It's still like a 6 out of 10 movie. The only reason why this movie is in this list is because I forced Guddeth to watch it. Yeah, he hasn't even seen a Fast and Furious movie before. Just like me, this is the first one I seen. The cycle must continue. And he still kind of enjoyed it, so that means something. Yeah, this movie's fucking hilarious, and there's no better feeling of watching the shit that goes down in these movies on a big screen. Watching them carry a fucking bomb through Rome is fucking hilarious. There's nothing better, dude. Now, there are some problems with it. Yes, it is absolutely fucking stupid, but you gotta commend them for it. Yes, there's a whole bunch of shit going on, as this movie separates all the characters into like 5 different subplots that vary on their actual quality. Some of them ranging from fucking pointless and boring to actually really good and interesting. Because the main plot of the movie actually is pretty cool compared to the later entries. It's actually going to be some big event that the series has been building up to this entire time. And all of this praise can be traced down to one character who brings the whole plot together and is the funniest and stupidest part of the movie. And that's fucking Jason Momoa as Dante Reyes. Oh my god, I'm telling you, he makes this movie so much better, and he is fucking hilarious, and he's absolutely fantastic, and I love every bit of him on screen. I don't know, man. I just have some weird vibe with this movie, where I just find it to be the funniest fucking thing alive. Too bad Vin Diesel is being sued for sexual assault. That makes me feel so much better. Thank you, Vin Diesel.
Saw X is the 10th iteration of the Saw franchise and easily one of the series' best. Typically in Saw, they double the movie with a trap plot and a cop plot. Usually one is better than the other. Very rarely are they both good. But Saw X doesn't have this issue, seeing as they don't have a cop plot. The movie fully ditches the cop plot. It's just the trap plot, but with John Kramer at the forefront. Tobin Bell coming back for this role again at 81 years old, being as agile and interactive in this movie as he is wild and highly commendable. This movie is definitely the most personal Saw movie, as it has John as the main character and what drove him to start putting people in murder traps. There are times where the people in traps don't really deserve to be there, but that is completely absent from this movie. Every single character did their part in screwing over John and so many others that are just trying to save their own lives after being diagnosed with terminally ill diseases. But what I love most about Saw movies is that they still make you root for the terrible characters when they are placed in the trap. I even found myself cheering them on and getting mad when most of their first minute was spent just crying and trying to talk their way out of their fate instead of getting done what needed to be done. And then for most of them, I felt sad when they ultimately failed their test. Probably because they were murdered in such a brutal fashion that nobody really deserves to go out in. But the ways that they do go out are absolutely brutal, and there are many times that I wanted to leave my seat and walk out to the lobby for a quick breather, just because of how grotesque they were. By the end of the entire movie, I felt myself understanding John Kramer a little bit more and his entire motivations. So let's recap. The reason that John puts people in death traps is he got cancer, he got screwed out of treatment, got into a car accident, had his unborn son killed, and then got dumped by his wife. Lionsgate, I think we get it. He doesn't need that much more motivation to put people in death traps. Thank you, we're good. In terms of all the Disney live-action remakes, The Little Mermaid was actually pretty good. But in the terms of the same story told 34 years ago, it doesn't compare. I think it's safe to say that Disney does not care about telling it better than they previously did thanks to new technology. All they care about is their precious cash. And since The Little Mermaid made $569 million, they got their wish. But I'm here to review the movie, not put the numbers up. Halle Bailey was a great casting if it was based on her singing. Her voice is beautiful, and all the tracks that she records for this movie are stunning. Being paired with Daveed Diggs as Sebastian also made for a much more enjoyable watch, because I love that man and everything that he does. With his rendition of Under the Sea honestly being one of my favorite parts of the entire movie. And last but certainly not least, Melissa McCarthy absolutely kills it as Ursula. She is terrifying and manipulative to her core. And it was an entirely great cast all around. But the issue still lies, it wasn't a better version of the original movie. The way that I see it is if a studio remakes a movie that was limited by camera, music, or post-production related technology when they first made it, they can remake it and try to do it better in the modern age with modern technology, which by effect makes the story and evidently the movie as a whole entirely better. Disney does not do this. They just do the same movie beat for beat. The only thing they change is the actors and the fact that it isn't animated anymore. If they put this much effort into original movies and didn't try to capitalize on a pre-existing story to line their pockets, I would not be as mad as I am about this movie. But it's obvious that they don't care and they just waste talent and want to get money. If Disney follows what Pixar does and puts this much effort into their own original projects, a movie with this exact cast but a different screenplay would be astounding. Yet here we are, year after year, reviewing terrible live-action Disney movies, trying to beat the original movie, which is unbeatable.
It's gonna explode in 3 seconds unless you take a bath! Please?
Knock at the Cabin was a thriller movie that I think went under most people's radars this year, and that really upsets me because this movie was pretty good. The cryptic story it told throughout had me hooked and not knowing who to trust from start to finish. At first, like a normal person, I thought not to trust Dave Bautista and gang, but as the movie continued, it turned out that they were right throughout the entire movie. On top of that already cryptic story, it had a beautiful love story that had me heartbroken by the time the credits rolled. I'm not exaggerating when I say I looked like this while watching this damn movie. It punched me right in the face with pure and utter emotion. A story so devastating to see unfold on the big screen. This movie would not be anywhere near as impactful without Ben Aldridge and Jonathan Groff's amazing performances as Eric and Andrew, respectively. The way that they slowly start disagreeing with each other over the course of the movie, and slightly start to think that they alone can prevent the apocalypse, while the other stands his ground and says absolutely not, was amazing to watch. Dave Bautista and his entire gang gives such a great performance from start to finish. You start to see that he isn't actually a bad person, and he's just doing what he thinks is right to prevent the vision he's being plagued with. The movie does an incredible job at humanizing the four intruders, making it clear they are not bad people. They are not senseless criminals holding this entire family hostage for fun. They are doing what they must to prevent the world from ending. M. Night Shyamalan does a great job with every single aspect of this movie, and if this movie did fly under your radar this year, I highly implore you to go seek it wherever it is streaming.
Flamin' Hot Cheetos, anyone?
Flamin' Hot was another biopic movie released this year, telling the story on how the Flaming Hot Cheetos snack hit the shelves. The movie tells the story that anyone in any position can make a big enough change if someone will just give him the chance, because the protagonist of this movie starts as a janitor. He is mopping the floors of the Frito-Lay factory, and by the end of the movie becomes the director of multicultural marketing. Richard's upbeat attitude throughout the entire movie was a treat to watch. He lets nothing get in his way and lets nothing distract him from his goal of bringing the snack to the shelves. But he's not upbeat all the time. At several moments he's tempted to quit, but then strengthened by his wife and kid along with his heritage, with family and heritage being one of the main themes of this entire movie. By showing his terrible father and his old family life, it showed that your past and heritage does not impact what you do in the present, but at the same time, it shows that heritage is something to be extremely proud of and let it be your driving factor. By bringing his culture into this huge snack and making his motivation for why he's so determined and driven throughout. It was a great story and an upbeat movie to watch, and at points I even forgot I was watching a movie all about the Flaming Hot Cheetos snack. Because even I thought, how the hell does a movie about Cheetos work? But somehow it does, and it is amazing.
Asteroid City feels like a movie that I just can't really appreciate fully yet. I've only seen one other Wes Anderson movie before, and that's Fantastic Mr. Fox. Fucking amazing movie. I love it. But I don't know, man. And I really, really love this movie. But it's just way too complex and layered for me to really appreciate it, and I've only seen it once. But again, it has the trademark Wes Anderson style with the amazing cinematography and the big cast and the deadpan humor. Yeah, it's a great movie. If you love Wes Anderson, then you're gonna love it. I just wish I have seen more of him, and hopefully I'll be able to do that.
The Marvels being the middle ground for Marvel movies released this year is exactly where I thought it would be. I went into this movie expecting another good fun team-up movie, and that's exactly what I got. I wasn't blown away or anything, but I wasn't disappointed either. I got exactly what I wanted, because that's what this movie is. It's good fun. Putting together a star cast of 3 insanely funny women together, you'll just naturally get funny moments from their personalities just bouncing off each other. Compile that with the character development of Carol between her first movie and her second. From the outside world, it's only been 4 years since the previous Captain Marvel, but time in between the 2 movies was 30 years for the character, and the growth is shown. In the first movie, she was still just a cocky soldier, just realizing the power she holds, but by the second, she was much more mature and more of a mentor to both younger and newer heroes. Those 2 younger and newer heroes, Monica and Kamala, even steal the spotlight at moments. Kamala was my main selling point for why I bought a ticket, and Iman Vellani does not disappoint. Because how could she? She seems like just a fun person to have on and off set. Her performance of meeting a hero that she completely idolized in her own show, and realizing that the hero life that she's been given sometimes means that people can still die on her watch. It's heartbreaking to watch for any new hero, but Iman Vellani put so much more into it, making it 10 times more impactful. The main issue that I have with the Marvels is the villain. The villain is forgettable and boring throughout. When she isn't doing a cool thing by ripping a portal in space, I just don't really care too much. Her motivations for what she's doing are there, but the scenes that explain it just feel rushed. In fact, the entire movie felt terribly rushed at a lot of moments, mainly throughout the end of the second act and the entirety of the third act. It kind of felt like Feige told those scriptwriters to hurry it up and get to the end so he can flash an X-Men across the screen for people to be like, But all in all, The Marvels is just an extremely fun movie with a funny and talented cast. Definitely worth watching on Disney Plus when they drop it in 2024. Creed 3 is the latest movie inside the Rocky universe, and it's just as good as its predecessor, and better than some of them to begin with. While the absence of Rocky is felt and hurts the story a little bit, the acting talent from the returning and the new cast makes up for it. With Michael B. Jordan writing, directing, and starring in this own movie being nothing short of outstanding. The talent he has for knowing exactly what he wants to do with the story and the way he performs it are such something on a different level. One of my favorite movie tropes to see is friends to enemies, and Creed 3 does it just as well as some of the best betrayal stories. Probably thanks again to Michael B. Jordan and Jonathan Major's acting talent. The story of these old friends slowly becoming enemies until they finally settle the differences inside the ring was such a satisfying story to watch unfold. Even though most people are seated for that final fight, the moments leading up to it are just as good as the fight itself. Although it's difficult to top something like a final act fight in a boxing movie, the writing is consistent and tells a great story. So when you get to that part where it's the finally time to fight, it's something the movie has been teasing for almost an hour and a half, and when you get to it, it is nice to see. The cinematography and camera work of the entire fight is easily the best part. It looks like something that was ripped straight out of a stylized animated movie. The way that Kramer Morgenthau and Michael B. Jordan framed the entire fight gives it a whole other elevated element to it that makes it seem more than just two guys exchanging punches. It's two old friends settling a feud in the only way they've ever known their whole life. It's great. Love it.
Who gives a fuck about movies?
Scream 6 is absolutely amazing. My favorite Scream movie since the original, slightly above 2022's Scream 5. Everything about this movie in terms of a Scream movie is great. Great cast, great kills, great location, and great Ghostface reveals. Cast from the previous movie returned in full glory, picking up only a couple months after the events of the previous movie, with such little time for them to think they have normal lives only to be tossed back in. Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega do an outstanding job in their roles, as expected by both. The sibling relationship that they have that evolves over the course of the movie is a nice needed character arc for the two. All Sam wants to do is just protect her little sister, especially after she almost died only a couple months prior, and Tara just wants to live her life and forget. Mason Goodling and Jasmine Savoy Brown are also amazing in their supporting roles, fully completing the core four. The chemistry between this cast is wild. They all seem like they're best friends on and off camera. And if you really want to talk about chemistry, let's talk about the love plot between Tara and Chad. It was not something that I was expecting to see at all, but ended up being one of my favorite parts of the entire movie. It was absolutely devastating to see Jenna Ortega act her fucking heart out during the scene where she thinks Chad is dying. Which, to her performance, he should be. That man got stabbed 13 times and somehow lives. He's got Dewey luck all over again, but I'm glad he's alive. For the little kills that we get inside Scream 6, they are brutal, especially Annika's. Her death was both brutal in the fact that how it looked, and the fact that she did absolutely nothing wrong. All she did was fall in love with the wrong person and got the most brutal death in the entire movie for it. And on top of all the pluses of this movie, we have the absolute bait casting of Samara Weaving. I was so unbelievably excited when they revealed that she was cast alongside Tony Revolori, only for him to be the one to kill her. When the movie opened and I saw her first and immediately knew what was about to happen, I felt so betrayed. Such betrayal that I've never felt from a movie before. Even the Ghostface reveals were pretty damn cool. And I'll say, blatantly telling us who Ghostface is from the start, with all the characters even explicitly saying it, was a bold move. But it paid off, because there's no way that they would actually tell us who he is, right? On top of that, revealing that the secondary Ghostface was someone who died earlier in the movie was wild. It genuinely had me thinking that Mindy was the second Ghostface for a second, but I didn't want to believe that for a single second. This entire movie blew me away from start to finish. But unfortunately, with things behind the scenes, I doubt we'll get a Scream 7 with this cast or even at all. Spy Guys, you fucked up, hardcore fumbling both Melissa and Jenna in one swift movement. And even if they do make Scream 7 with a new cast, I probably won't end up watching it just because of what they did to Melissa Barrera. So for Scream 6 to be the last Scream movie I end up seeing or that ends up existing at all, I am satisfied saying that this was a worthy conclusion to the saga of Scream.
I finally got to see Elemental after months of it not coming out. Fun fact about me, I used to be a giant Pixar fan. I love that studio. I love the movies that they made. They changed me so much as a person. But man, I just don't care that much for them anymore. And when I was watching the trailers for this movie, I was all like, okay, I don't know if I'm ready to watch this. And well, after watching it finally, it's good. I like it. It's well made enough. I can tell the passion that went into it with the director and his personal story. I just don't care too much for most of the characters. And it can be really fucking predictable, but there's nothing bad about it except for fucking Claude. I fucking hate that bitch. I hope he gets like shot or something. I don't know. I like it. I like this movie. It's pretty good, but it's still like probably like one of my least favorite Pixar movies. I don't know. It's fine.
With the Mario Brothers and plumbing's a game, we're not like the others who get all the fame.
The Super Mario Bros. Movie was insanely fun. Despite opening up to a bad critic score, the Mario movie once again proved that Rotten Tomatoes means absolutely nothing. Before release, this movie had almost everything stacked up against it. Even before we saw footage for the movie, people were clowning on it for casting Chris Pratt as Mario. Now, do I agree that he was the best fit for the role? No, probably not if we saw some of the other auditions. But did he do a fantastic job nonetheless? Yes. Yes, he did. Chris Pratt and Charlie Day as Mario and Luigi respectively was definitely one of my favorite duos of the entire year. The brotherly chemistry and love was there from start to finish, and it was perfect. Jack Black was also perfect casting. His portrayal of Bowser was stellar, and his scenes were some of the best parts of the movie. And, of course, there's Peaches, which there isn't really much to say about the song that hasn't really been said already. After hearing Jack Black sing his heart out, I want the entirety of the second Mario Bros. Movie to just be a full-on musical. Speaking of Peaches, Anna Taylor-Joy as Peach was another flawless casting. I think everybody in this movie was just perfectly cast, and I'm fully here for it. Joy brought so much love and admiration to Peach. She made her into like an actual leader of the Mushroom Kingdom and a badass all at the exact same time. You can see the love and admiration that went to crafting every single second of this movie, and that the team behind it was passionate about bringing Mario to life. And they were highly rewarded for it. Mario is number 2 this year, only being beat out by Barbie at the box office. Mario is the latest in the long line of movies that prove, if done correctly and done with the correct and passionate team, video game movies can and do work.
I love Mario to death, bro, and I'm so shocked that this movie is even good. And I know it's a Mario movie, I didn't expect much out of it, but it's just way too fucking rushed, and just has so many things that could have made it better. And despite some of the weird casting choices, well, they weren't that bad, to be completely honest. Chris Pratt did a suitable job, and everybody else did a decent job, except for Charlie Day and Jack Black, because they were fucking amazing. And this movie, just shockingly, is good. And I can tell, like, with every scene that they really care about Mario, and I'm really shocked about the effort that they put into it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze is just better.
Whatever you can imagine, I can create.
Blue Beetle is a shining example that you don't need a huge budget to portray a powerful story and make it visually appealing. Just look at other DC movies released this year that had almost 3 times Blue Beetle's budget. And yet, Blue Beetle looks the best visually out of all 3 movies released this year. It carefully uses its budget and doesn't include these over-the-top CGI sequences that some poor underpaid animator had to do. In a modern age when movies typically skip the origin story, it's refreshing to actually see a full origin from start to finish with a hilarious protagonist. But Blue Beetle just went under most people's radars this year. I still think that if it were released before The Flash, it would have gotten a lot more of the praise that it deserves.
Oh, Blue Beetle! I forgot about that one. It's a solid superhero origin story. I like Zolo Morgiana. I like him in the role. I like the family, especially George Lopez, Mr. Electric Dad. Mr. Electric.
Have his penis exploded immediately! Have him expelled!
The action scenes are really cool. I really vibe with the Blue Beetle lore and the superpowers. Like, it's cool. I like the action scenes. I like this shit. This is a solid ass movie, and I like it.
Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 was the wonderful espionage spy thriller movie that I definitely needed in this year. Opening to a box office of $15 million and then eventually grossing over $500 million in the same month that Barbenheimer took place was insane. You'd think that once Barbie and Oppenheimer came out, that the movie would just stop making money because everybody's going to see those two. Nope, not Dead Reckoning. Tom Cruise absolutely kills it in the role, but how can you not when it's your 7th time playing the same character? They skip no time at all and just get right into the wackiness that you expect from a Mission Impossible movie. Haley Atwell does a fantastic job in the supporting role, being the newbie to the spy life, and not understanding the stuff that goes on behind the scenes of being a spy. The whole mystery and danger of the movie felt extremely well paced. Such strong writing provokes paranoia about a thing we don't even know the full potential of, which is why you're so scared of this thing and why you want to root for Ethan and the gang to find the key and destroy it first. In typical Tom Cruise fashion, he does that one thing that can be plastered over every single trailer, convincing people to buy a ticket and be seated for the movie. And I don't get how he does it, but every single time he finds a way to one-up the previous stunt that he did. It's honestly the best part of these new Mission Impossible movies. because only Tom Cruise at his age would be going off a cliff on a motorcycle to skydive onto a train without the use of a green screen and actually do that stunt. It's absolutely ridiculous, but I love it. Whenever a video game movie comes out that specifically targets a group of people already interested in the series, it's hard for people on the outside to get as much enjoyment out of it as people on the inside. And that's completely fine. What matters is how you felt watching the movie. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie is supposed to be a movie for the fans of FNAF. And this isn't just my speculation either. Jason Blum himself went on to Late Night with Seth Meyers and explicitly stated that.
Usually when Hollywood attacks a video game or a book, they always say, like, we're gonna make it for the fans and we're gonna make it for everybody else. We are only making this for fans of Five Nights at Freddy's.
One of the many reasons I think I might have enjoyed this movie more than other people would be my theater experience. I saw the movie on a Thursday and Saturday opening weekend, and it was full to the brim with FNAF fans who love and adore this franchise and have waited just as long as me for this movie. I have waited 8 years for this movie, and was it worth it? Yes. Yes, it was. A piece of my childhood is finally complete now that this movie's on the big screen for anybody who wants to see it. The things about the original game that were so scary to me were the things that we couldn't see, or the tiny little things in the background. The lack of information was the scary part, and that translates from game to screen so well. The minor movements and mannerisms of the animatronics is what makes them scary. Their outward design isn't scary because this place was supposed to be a place that parents would willingly take their children to have fun. The design of the animatronics can't be too outgoingly scary because then no self-respecting parent would actually take their child to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The team at the Jim Henson Creature Shop took that into account and used it as the building blocks for these animatronics. Sometimes when characters don't speak, it's difficult to portray what they would be saying or what they're thinking, but the Five Nights at Freddy's movie completely misses this issue. The facial movements and body language of the animatronics was through the roof with an effort to portray what they were thinking or feeling. The fact that these animatronics needed 5 to 6 extremely talented puppeteers to operate again shows the talent and love that went into crafting such a huge and fundamental part of the movie. Speaking of talent and love that went into crafting a huge part of this movie, the human cast absolutely kills it. My biggest worry going into this movie was that the regular people were going to be like the Godzilla movies, where their struggles and worries nobody truly cares about, because the writers and directors knew that the people who bought tickets were there to see the animatronics. But yet again, the Five Nights at Freddy's movie does not have that issue. I cared equally, if not more, when Josh Hutcherson and Elizabeth Lail were on screen driving the plot further. Their relationship over the course of the movie is sweet, and you can tell that Vanessa actually cares about Mike and Abby, but is afraid to tell them what's going on because of what her father is capable of. The relationship between the three leads is so strong, and just makes the movie so much more enjoyable. Mike and Abby's relationship is so well written, and in every interaction, it seems like it would be an actual conversation that I would have with my little sister. I don't know how he isn't in more movies. He was some of the best part of the earlier Hunger Games movies, and now he's absolutely perfect in this movie too. I hope after the success of this movie, it shows the movie industry how great he is, and he can hopefully slip his way back into mainstream media. The Five Nights at Freddy's movie continues the wonderful streak of good people who care about franchises and working on wonderful adaptations of them, prioritizing the fans of the pre-existing material while also still making it watchable and enjoyable for people on the outside. It makes me so happy to see this streak continue, especially when it's about a series that means so much to me.
Yeah, it was okay. Not enough Chica. She's such a bad bitch though! I fucked the shit out of that robot, man!
Shit out of that robot, man. I'm not even...
That's it. That's all I want to say.
Are you coming through the street? A strong upper man is taking murder free.
Into the top 10 we go. Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes takes all my favorite elements from the previous Hunger Games movies and weaves them together to craft a super enjoyable movie. Now me personally, I've always preferred the drama that exists outside the arena. Don't get me wrong, the chaos of the arena and seeing how our protagonist deals with it is always highly entertaining, but it's much more fun to see how they prepare to go into the arena or deal with what happened inside of it. Lucy Gray is one of my favorite protagonists to come out of movies this year. Rachel Zegler does such a beautiful job at bringing the character to life, it wouldn't be the same with any other actor in the role. Her ingenuity and cunningness that she brings to Lucy is unmatched, so when the entire second half of the movie is all parts of outside the arena and how she deals with that drama, Zegler puts her all into it. Her pure optimism on the fact that she's still alive and continues singing and making music with the rest of the covey was so fun to watch unfold. And by the end of the movie, they leave the fate of Lucy Gray up to your own interpretation, which is why I love the movie so much more. Letting the audience make their own ending of what they want to see while still delivering a strong ending for one of our other characters like Snow. Oh hey, speaking of snow, I went into this movie with the mindset of, I know what he does in the future, but he isn't that person yet, and my god was I wrong. Tom Blythe portrays the decline of Snow so damn well. You can tell that he has a promising future just by watching the performance, even if you had zero knowledge of where this franchise goes and what Snow does in the future. You think that he's just a heartbroken character after he uses all his favors and money to be personally moved into District 12 to see Lucy again, but then by the end of the movie, he's firing a gun at her and trying to kill her. This man is insane, no doubt about it, but it doesn't just come out of left field. It's shown throughout the movie that he will do whatever it is to achieve what needs to be done. Earlier in the movie, he was doing anything to protect Lucy, but by the end, his selfish ways take over, and now he's doing anything to protect himself. He kills his best friend and attempts to kill the only woman that will ever truly love him to make sure he has a steady future. And by the end of the movie, I was heartbroken and devastated by the Hunger Games yet again. I let my guard down because of how much I love Lucy's and Snow's relationship, only to get stabbed in the back once again.
Anticipate, don't improvise.
David Fincher's newest movie, The Killer, was the only movie this year that made me feel stupid. I knew the movie was great from the halfway point, but I didn't know why I loved it yet. It was so good that it made me think I was missing a huge plot point or huge reason to love it. But no, The Killer is just so good, it didn't need that big flashy moment to tell me that the movie was good. The entire movie was that big moment. Michael Fassbender is absolutely stunning in the role. The way that he walks into a room and every character instantly knows they are dead, no matter what they say, was terrifying to witness over the course of the movie. The dialogue is so smart, and the ways that the characters act and speak to each other has such a high and sophisticated tone to it. Usually in other killer or spy movies, the protagonist seeming like a boogeyman that lurks in the shadows usually doesn't feel real. I don't feel the fear that these characters would, but the killer breaks that streak. I am 100% convinced that people are afraid and terrified of this mystery man. But putting us in the shoes of the killer and how he looks and interprets each problem was such a fun thing to witness. All the encounters end the exact same way, by the person he wants dead being dead, but by the way that we get to each brutal kill being different and just as cool each time it happens, it has you hooked and glued into your seat for the entire movie. This movie should be up there, contending for one of Michael Fassbender's best movies. When a movie has one main character and practically no side characters, the entire weight of the movie rests on whoever you cast, and Fassbender proves once again that he can do what he was asked, and more, while playing the killer.
Bro, I fucking love the Barbie movie. It's just so well made, and it's absolutely crazy that's even as good as it is. And yes, I am a Barbie fan. I have two sisters, man. Barbie Life in the Dream House is fucking peak. But man, they just didn't need to go so fucking hard on this. Going more in depth about the concept of Barbie in general, and having a lot to say about the social hierarchy. Oh, guess what, liberals? This movie talks about women! Whoa! I totally didn't expect that! And at the exact same time, this movie has some of the best set design, dance sequences, makeup, fucking funniest fucking scenes I've seen in a movie in fucking years. This movie is so insane and I love it. I love Ken, dude. I love how the plot just goes fucking crazy as soon as he finds out that men rule the world. Like, it's a lot more in-depth than that. There's actually a purpose to it. There's more like in-depth themes about that. There's a reason why this movie got so big. And I just really vibe with this movie. I vibe with the humor. I vibe with all the effort that went into multiple aspects of it. I love the Barbie movie, dude.
You ready, John?
Yeah.
John Wick Chapter 4 was an exhilarating action movie from start to finish, showing once again that the stunts and action in these movies are unmatchable to anything else in Hollywood. The fight choreography embedded into every second of the movie made it so much more enjoyable to watch. While obviously the action was easily the best part, the writing of the movie makes it so much slower. The more normal moments are still enjoyable and fun to watch, mostly thanks to the amazing acting talent of Keanu Reeves. Other than Keanu Reeves, this entire movie has such a stacked cast. We have Bill Skarsgård, Clancy Brown, and of course the late but still outstanding Lance Reddick, just to name a few. From start to finish, John Wick has you hooked and hypnotized in your chair. There were so many points of this movie that I thought, it can't get much better than this, can it? And then it got much better than that. First it was the traffic car chase and the roundabout was the peak of the movie. Then I thought it was the 2-minute 30-second long take. Then I thought it was the final duel between John and Kane. Every part of this movie that's just as good outdoes everything that came before it inside of John Wick Chapter 4, as well as the other previous movies in the John Wick saga. From start to finish, I was loving it. The only thing holding me back from watching this movie every single day is the fact that it's almost 3 hours long. Long-ass movie, but nonetheless still outstanding.
Mutant Mayhem? Pretty solid ass movie. Sure, the story's like really basic and like, I don't know, some of the jokes just aren't that funny. But at the exact same time, it's also pretty funny. And it still has a really solid ass story that works really well for this interpretation of the Turtles. Whoever thought it was a good idea to make them actual teenagers, fucking peak. You deserve a raise, dude. Shout out to stylized animation. Gotta be my favorite genders. I don't know, man. This movie's really solid. Like, I don't know. It's a fun ass movie. I am Gumball Leonardo.
Right, but because you said that's what the mask is, I think you're a fat.
Damon was an absolute treat to watch. I've seen this movie maybe 3 times now just because of how enjoyable it is. Because it's got something for everyone. It flawlessly blends all these elements into one of the best animated movies of the entire year. Crazy to think that Disney almost fumbled again in 2023, making it so that this movie almost never existed. For context, this movie was originally supposed to be a Blue Sky movie, not a Netflix movie. But when Disney bought out 20th Century Fox, the company that owned Blue Sky, they hunted down and defeated the remaining Blue Sky movies, with Nimona being the closest one to being finished, about 75% of the way done. And it remained dead until almost a year later when Annapurna Pictures bought it off Disney and partnered up with Netflix to finish that last 25%. It's a miracle that this movie even exists to begin with, but I digress. Nimona herself was a mix of fun and wittiness. Her dynamics with every other character in the movie is nothing short of mesmerizing, that sometimes lacks from other animated movies. Nimona's narrative is both poignant and thought-provoking, tackling themes of identity, friendship, and consequences of power. The storyline takes unexpected turns, keeping the audience on their edge of their seats while delivering powerful messages that resonate with you long after the credits roll. With the sudden change from a light-hearted buddy movie into a story about a broken heart only fixed when Nimona finally finds a true friend who loves her for who she is. This movie is an absolute gem in the world of animation and the world of cinema making entirely. It successfully combines a compelling story, memorable characters, and breathtaking animation to create a movie that will have you remembering it months after you watch it. Godzilla Minus One is easily the best monster movie we've gotten in recent years, and one of the best movies of the entire year. It takes all of my issues about the previous movies, as well as everything I loved, and pours it into one delicious meal. Obviously, when I buy a ticket, I go to see Godzilla and see him destroy a bunch of stuff, but that can't carry an entire movie. Like I said about Transformers previously, typically these movies with big CGI creatures, you forget about the human characters and their struggles. Minus One misses this criticism entirely by an unholy feat. The main character being an ex-kamikaze pilot is something introduced in the first seconds of the film, and it does not leave his character until the last seconds of the film. The whole message of honor and family is present throughout, especially when the main character comes from a culture that holds honor and family to the highest standard. And then there was the decision to not English dub the movie. English dubs are good for bringing the project into a larger audience for all to enjoy, but when the movie is about a character the general public is already familiar with, it doesn't really face this issue. So by not doing an English dub and not completely erasing the vocal emotion that the actors bring to the table, it allowed for a much better watching experience. With the entire cast being lovable and having their full acting talent on display to see, it actually had me caring for the human characters and not just waiting for Godzilla to come back on screen and start destroying stuff again. There were multiple moments across the entire movie that had my jaw on the floor. From the first time he appeared, his atomic breath, and the final scene featuring Godzilla's demise, I was in utter shock at how perfect this movie was. Godzilla Minus One is more than just another monster movie. It's a visual and auditory perfection that captures every moment wonderfully. With its thought-provoking themes and moments, Godzilla Minus One will have you wondering how other monster movies and monster projects can be exactly like this one.
No sleep till.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 was the perfect conclusion to so many characters all at once. Every character has their perfect moment to shine and end their story in one beautifully wrapped up movie. While doubling it as the ending to most of these heroes, it displays one of the best hero stories in recent years and the entire MCU. Guardians catapults audiences right back into this world so quickly, full of its wonderfully crafted humor, action, and emotion. The film's strength lies in its impeccable balance between character development and pulse-pounding action. James Gunn weaves a narrative that explores the depths of our favorite misfit heroes, delving into their past and propelling them forward in an uncertain future. The chemistry between the Guardians remains as vibrant as ever, and the new layers added to their personality provide for both humorous and genuine emotional resonance. Visually, Guardians of the Galaxy 3 was a feast for the eyes, with its great cinematography and color palette alongside its outstanding VFX. The soundtrack, the cornerstone of these movies, continues to shine and ends up being the best of all three movies, so much so that I had difficulty deciding which one would be featured for the 5-second fanfare to introduce it. With its beautiful score and soundtrack, the story can purely be told through music, which it does at several moments. The character arcs are handled with care and precision to stay tuned to each and every character that it does. Every emotional beat is earned, so much so that it hits me just as hard on rewatch as it did the first night I saw it in theaters. While the characters aren't exploring their terrible past, James Gunn includes a famous taste of Guardians comedy that remains funny in a modern world full of cringy superhero one-liners.
Bro, I love Guardians of the Galaxy so much. And this movie came at a perfect time when people think Marvel is like at their absolute lowest. And this is a perfect end to an absolutely amazing trilogy that wraps up every single arc in the best way possible. I love the ending of this movie. I love some of the emotional scenes in this movie that made me cry multiple times in the theater. It's still as funny as ever. The characters are still so great and the action scenes are so good. Dude, this movie is just amazing and I absolutely love it. It's one of my personal favorites of the year, just because it means a lot to me. Oh my god, the hallway action scene. I'm coming. Ah! I don't know, man. Guardians of the Galaxy 3, fucking peak. Banger soundtrack. Had it on my rotation for like at least like 2 months. Now I'm taking this shit off, bro. Oh my god.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is a cinematic masterpiece that combines the great elements of its predecessors while delivering its own beautiful cosmic story to be enjoyed for all around. With its story resonating on every level, you can feel such strong emotions to such a beautiful movie. With the cast giving it their all as per usual, and outstanding direction from James Gunn, and a soundtrack that will have you bobbing your head and tapping your foot while adding to your playlist, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 continues to prove time and time again that it's one of the best movies to come out of the entire MCU and as well as 2023. The future of DC is in great hands with James Gunn if he continues to make movies with such passion and love as he did with Guardians 3.
Few people cried. Most people were silent.
Oppenheimer was another cinematic masterpiece, a ridiculous achievement in filmmaking history, perfectly capturing one of the darkest chapters in human history and telling it with a perfect cast, perfect score, beautiful cinematography, and much, much more. Everything about this movie is close to, if not perfect. The script telling an emotional story of the troubled effort that went into the Manhattan Project, while also telling the complex story of J. Robert Oppenheimer, showing his personal struggles, brilliant and resilient mind, and moral dilemmas surrounding the creation and usage of the atomic bomb. Christopher Nolan nailed every element of the time period when it came to language, outfits, and especially the paranoia of Germany or Japan achieving nuclear weaponry before the Americans do. The visual language of the movie speaks for itself in every moment that it's shown. Just from the opening scene alone, with Can You Hear the Music playing, you get a sense for exactly what this movie's gonna be like and what's going on in the world. The film's musical score is hauntingly beautiful, perfectly completing the narrative of emotional depth. From moments of introspection to scenes of intense scientific discovery, the soundtrack elevates the viewing experience, leaving a lasting impression on you after you leave the theater. The entire movie had me sitting there like this from the moment the bomb went off to the moment the credits began to roll. In a movie that builds up such hype to one single moment, it's difficult to get audiences to care about what comes before as well as what comes after, but Oppenheimer does not have that issue. The build-up to the Trinity test is just as good because you don't know what it's going to end up looking like, and then after the test, the whole movie truly begins. Everything up to this point kind of just felt like a wonderful recap of US history class, but instead of having my goat of a teacher, it had Cillian Murphy teaching me. But all that came afterwards was even better than the before. The film's thematic reason for undercutting moments of black and white to show it's at a different time, before finally putting those moments in color to let us know that we're in the present finally. It's something the movie's been teasing for almost the entire movie, and now that we have it in full color glory, it's even better than what I could have asked for. And by the time we do finally get to the end, those closing words and moments as the score builds up one final time, you're left sitting there like a plate of jello, absolutely stunned at what you just witnessed. Oppenheimer is a cinematic triumph that deserves every accolade it receives. It is a compelling and visually stunning piece of storytelling that resonates with you long after the credits roll.
I saw Oppenheimer. Yeah, I really liked it. It was fucking peak. I don't know. I saw Cillian Murphy naked. I kind of clocked out at that point. But I clocked right back in like at the halfway mark, like when the bomb goes off and that scene in the room and then the entire ending part with Robert Downey Jr. Oh my god, this movie goes from 0 to 100 real quick. But again, it's so well made and acted and performed for the entire time. Like, it's low-key a banger. I just never gonna watch it again. I prefer the Barbie movie. Still a 9 out of 10 though, but not my personal favorite.
But there is only one issue holding Oppenheimer back from being the #1 movie of the year, and that is the length. I get that in order for Christopher Nolan to tell the story properly, it needed the runtime, and I don't automatically dislike it for being a long movie, it just tanks its rewatchability. Every other movie in the top 5 I've seen at least twice, if not more, except for Oppenheimer. Oppenheimer's just a movie that you can go watch once and never again, just because it's so damn long. While super enjoyable, I really can't see myself rewatching Oppenheimer again for the next 3 to 4 years. And with Oppenheimer being at number 2, there's only one movie left standing in this ranking. Let me introduce to you the #1 movie of 2023. And the #1 movie of 2023 goes to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. And now you may be wondering, what prompted us to put Across the Spider-Verse above every other movie that was released this year? And it's because of so many different factors combined to one amalgamation to create an absolutely perfect movie. While on the topic of rewatchability from Oppenheimer, Spider-Verse does not face that issue. While only 40 minutes shorter, those 40 minutes are felt each time I rewatch this beautiful work of art. With this movie being in development for over 4 years, it gave each and every animator as much time as they need to craft every part of this movie. And at any point of rewatching Spider-Verse, you can pause and find a new piece of art. Thanks to the movie having zero motion blur, it truly gives the animation that different feel to it that more animated movies are doing because they realize it makes animated movies stand out and feel much more unique. From the moment the movie starts to the moment it ends, the animation is nothing short of a visual feast for your eyes to enjoy. The way the movie effortlessly transitions from dimension to dimension, making it look and operate differently from the previous one, is a mind-blowing feat. The creativity that went into making the action sequences especially just enriches those moments with such a personality. Spider-Man is a character that typically just looks better off in animation over any form of live action, because animation can get away with a lot more than live action can when it comes to, of course, the way they animate their characters. They don't need to worry about the uncanny valley or making them move and act like an actual human being would. The swinging and the fighting is so fluid yet cartoony that it would not work in any other fashion. The filmmakers knew this and ended up fully embracing it.
I cannot agree more. Across the Spider-Verse is the sequel to my favorite movie ever made, and is nothing short of a perfect sequel. And as time has moved on, I just loved it more and more. Like, it is insane how much this recontextualizes the first movie. Like, that is fucking brilliant, and I want to talk more about that one day. The script is so smart yet so fucking funny, and the action is so amazing. If this isn't the best looking movie of all time, then I don't know what is. This soundtrack right here is better than anything Taylor Swift has ever concocted. And the score, that is definitely better than Donda. I honestly don't know what to say, other than the fact that this movie is legit a banger. Watch my own video if you want more details.
Across the Spider-Verse excels in its ability to balance so many different characters all at the same time, while still establishing who our mains are, who our sides are, and who our antagonists are. Each different Spider-Person throughout the movie feels different from one another, despite the entire plot of the movie saying that the same canon events happen to each and every one of them. The ability to juggle so many different characters while they only have one thing in common was a beautiful watching experience that I still cherish to this day. The character dynamics are both sweet yet heartbreaking at times. You have so much love for Miles and Gwen, to see them fight and have Miles feel betrayed by her actions is devastating to watch time after time after time again. The emotional core of the story remains strong, exploring themes of identity, responsibility, and the universal appeal of the iconic superhero. Spider-Verse strikes a perfect balance between thrilling superhero action and intimate character moments, ensuring the audience connects with each and every different Spider-Person throughout the movie on a profound and emotional level. Across the Spider-Verse is not only a triumph as a sequel, but also as a standalone movie inside the superhero genre, living up to the bar it's set by its predecessor and making a genuine argument for which movie is better. It's a testament to what can be accomplished from an animation medium of storytelling, and just keeps proving time and time again that animation is cinema. So there you have it, my official ranking for all 36 movies I had the pleasure of watching in 2023. No matter what movie came first versus what movie came last, every movie had an outstanding team of creative people working on them to bring it to life. Every movie shined in their own way, just some shined brighter than others when it came to enjoyability and ranking.
Hey man, what about me?
Oh, yeah, let's get you back to your own dimension. You want to use the go home machine?
Oh, fuck no, dude. Here, let me just...
Oh, that works, I guess. Anyway, absolutely huge shout out to my guy Damon from Crazy Gamer Inc. over on YouTube. Today's video would not be possible without him and his amazing sense of humor. If for some reason you haven't already, go show this man some love over on YouTube and Twitter, both under Crazy Gamer Inc. Link will be in the description and in the eye corner right here. I hope you also enjoyed your fair share of movies this year, and I'd love to hear what you thought of 2023 and its movies down in the comment section or over on Twitter. Here's to a great 2024 for the movie industry and for all you amazing people who sat down and watched today's video. Have a great year. Thanks for watching.